realized I was very nervous the first day. And I remember that one of them told me, teacher, you don't need to be nervous. I mean, just relax.
Okay.
We are your friends here in the class. I want to show them that what they're learning is for their lives, not just for the school. When you communicate, you express yourself in different ways, and you can talk to many people, and then you learn how they see life in other countries. I think it goes beyond just speaking a language.
What piece of advice would you give to new teachers? How would you inspire them?
I tell them to relax and to enjoy what they are doing, and to tell them, like, what you're doing is going to help a lot of people. And probably you're not going to be able to see it right now, but you're going to help them like for the rest of their lives.
Hello. Today we are really excited because we have a special guest from Colegio La Salle, Mexico. And here with us is Rubén Hernández. Teacher Rubén, thank you for being here.
I'm very excited to be here, and thank you for inviting me.
Let's go back to the very early years of your teaching career. Do you remember your first lessons? How did you become a teacher?
Well, I could say that it was by accident. I didn't think about becoming a teacher, but then I was at a school. Some students from other grades approached me and they asked me to help them with certain things, mathematics actually. And then I helped them, and I really felt I was like happy to help them, let's say.
Okay.
And then I started like helping other people, and then I was taking classes.
Okay.
And then I became a teacher, and
So that's how you became a teacher.
exactly.
And then how did you decide to continue?
Well,
on that?
when I was in front of my students, I wasn't feeling very comfortable. Actually, I felt very nervous. I remember the first day. But then when I started talking to them and I started telling them certain things about the vocabulary, the class and everything, and when they started like speaking English with me, I felt very happy. And then I said, like, this is what I want to do.
And how many students did you have? Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember the first time. I mean, the first group I have, it was 15 students.
15 students.
And they realized I was very nervous the first day. And I remember that one of them told me, teacher, you don't need to be nervous. I mean, just relax.
Okay.
We are your friends here in the class.
How interesting that student came to you and said, like, cool teacher, right?
Exactly.
Okay. All right. And then what happened? You decided you wanted to go on.
Yeah, at the very beginning, as I told you, I didn't feel very comfortable. And besides that, to prepare classes, to go over the information I was supposed to work on with them and everything, it was not that easy.
Of course.
I had to spend a lot of time preparing my materials, preparing my lessons and everything. But I thought that it was very interesting. And I found those activities very interesting for me.
So, Rubén, tell me about your institution. Tell me about La Salle.
Okay. Well, this is part of La Sallian schools, all around the world. And this school gives classes to junior high school and high school students. And it is in the south of the city.
Here at La Salle, do you have many students?
Yeah, we have actually here, we have 1,000 students.
1,000
here.
students?
Yeah, we have a lot of students.
Wow, how many teachers?
There are 10 English teachers to work with all those students.
How does it feel being a La Sallian teacher?
It feels good because being here at La Salle, you know that you have a lot of students and you know that they come here because they want to learn how to speak English, because La Sallian schools are known because they help students to improve their language skills.
So your students live around the area? They are from the same
Most of them
neighborhood?
live here. Yeah,
Okay.
Most of them live in the area.
So when you are, let's say on weekends, when you go to the mall, you run into many students?
Yeah, it happens.
So you need to wear your dark glasses.
Yeah,
right?
something like that. Especially, well, at least I have to pay attention to my outfit, because they sometimes call me like, "Hey, teacher Ruben," and then I have like, "Oh, hello here," and I see the parents and
So
everything.
you really have to be professionally dressed up all the time,
Something
and
like that, yeah.
okay, all right.
But it is good to talk to them. Then there, I sometimes talk to them in English, which is good because their parents say, "Hey, hola, cómo está?" And I tell their children like, "Hey, hello, how are you? What are you doing here?" And they see that they can communicate using the
So
language.
you're an English teacher 24/7, right?
Exactly,
All the
yes.
time. So every learning opportunity and teaching opportunity, you take it there, right? Okay. So you see your students and you tell them, okay, now order some food and order in English. And
Something like that, because I want to tell them, I mean, I want to show them that what they're learning is for their lives, not just for the school, but it goes, I mean, whenever they are in a place or something, they can use the language for them to communicate.
And when you see your students outside of school, do they hide from you?
No, they don't. Actually, they feel happy. I sometimes, here I have to be kind of strict sometimes because discipline is important too, so that they can learn and all that. But when I am on the street, when I see them outside, I think that they are not gonna be. They don't want to talk to me or something, but. Actually, they feel happy and they say, "Oh, teacher Ruben," and then they say, "Hey, hello, my teacher Ruben." And if they go with somebody else, they tell them like, "He's my teacher. He
Oh.
gives me classes."
And you take your pen
Yeah,
and sign
yeah,
autographs
something
and
like that.
everything, right? Oh, well, okay. You're a celebrity here.
Yeah,
All
well,
right.
somehow.
What would you say is your teaching philosophy?
What I want from my students is to be able to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that English is the tool they need to do that, to
Okay.
communicate. And that's what I do. I try to give them the necessary tools for them
Okay.
to be able to express their ideas, to express themselves in different contexts. That's what I do. And I always think that when I prepare my materials, when I prepare my lessons, I think about what they are going to do
Okay.
with what they are going to learn that day.
Okay. So you kind of visualize your students producing, for example,
Exactly.
right? And then you write your lesson plan based on that.
Exactly. And when I see at the end of the class, when I see that they are using the information, the vocabulary, I think like, oh yes, this is what I want. And this is what I want to do like over and over and over. This started 25 years ago.
25 years ago. So you were a little kid.
No, I wasn't a little kid, but it was kind of young.
Okay.
But it was 25 years ago when this started. And right now I feel that I am doing what I want to do, what I like to do. And besides that, I see my students and I see some of them have family, some of them have children, and then they say like, "Teacher, hey, teacher Ruben, do you remember when you gave me classes and everything?" And it's like, "Oh yeah."
Has it ever happened to you that one of your students became a teacher and then you say like, I was your student and then I became a teacher because of you, because of your teachings or everything else?
You know what? This is I just remember that once I was giving classes to adults, and then there was a lady, Lucy. I remember her name.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she was like 45 years old.
Okay.
And I was asking them, it was the first day of class. And I asked them, like, why do you want to study English? And she told me, I want to study English because I want to become a teacher. And all of them look at Lucy like, really?
Mm-hmm.
You're not that young to think about this. And I told her, like, yeah, Lucy, you're in the right track to do it. So, yeah, of course, you're going to do it. Eventually, she became a teacher, and she's still being a teacher.
Is she still a teacher?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, that's inspirational.
Yeah,
it
is.
Right? Like she had that willpower
exactly
to become a teacher. Now, I'm sure you have seen throughout your career many teachers, but what piece of advice would you give to new teachers, to teachers who are planning to become teachers? How would you advise them? How would you inspire them?
Whenever I see a teacher that is struggling with the lessons and everything, I tell them to relax and to enjoy what they are doing, and to tell them like, what you're doing is going to help a lot of people. And probably you're not going to be able to see it right now, but you're going to help them like for the rest of their lives. And they're going to change their lives for good things. And I tell them to think about that.
Okay.
Like what you're doing is going to help a lot of people.
Like the difference they can make, for example?
Exactly. Yeah, because when you're with your students, you know that you're teaching them how to communicate, you're teaching them vocabulary, but also you're teaching them how to face difficulties in life, how to deal with difficult situations. And I
Okay.
think that you can help them in that sense too.
So would you say that teaching English is beyond the language?
Exactly. Yeah, of course, because it has to do with communication. And when you communicate, you express yourself in different ways. And you can talk to many people from, not just from Mexico, but from other countries. When you travel, for instance, and then you're able to talk to them, and then you learn how they see life in other countries, and you learn a lot of things. So I think it goes beyond just speaking a language.
Just using the language, right?
Exactly.
So you are preparing citizens for the future.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I think. And that's why I feel very excited when I am with my students and we talk about different things and we talk about music. And then because I know that it is going to be good for them in their lives in different ways.
Okay. So do you teach students from different ages?
Yeah. Well, I have been giving classes to little kids, to adults, to teenagers. I mean, different.
All ranges.
Exactly.
Where do you feel more comfortable? Teaching young learners, teaching teenagers, adults?
Yeah, well, let me tell you something. Now that I have been working as a teacher for 25 years, I feel very comfortable working with teenagers.
Okay.
I like to talk to them. I know they are very difficult to be in a class with them, but I think that I have a good approach with them. So then I can, help them.
Maybe this is the time in which you would share your secrets, because I'm sure many teachers that are listening to our podcast would want to see what the secret to teaching teenagers is. So in a nutshell, what's your secret to teach teenagers?
Well, let me tell you
I'm going
something.
to take notes.
Yeah. Yeah, of course, if you want to. Let me tell you this. What I do is to make them feel that they are not in a class, like, very strict classes.
Okay.
And like they are in a very safe environment.
Okay.
Where they can express their ideas.
Oh,
And it is okay if I ask them, how are you today? And they say like, I'm not okay today. It's good because this is part of life. Okay. So when I feel them comfortable in the class, that they are in a safe environment, they can express their ideas. Okay. And if they want to tell me anything, like it is probably not very according to what we expect them to say, and it is okay for me. Like, okay, you have the right to express whatever you want to, and then we go like this.
So they feel that they can trust you and the peers and everything and everybody else.
Yeah.
Well, that's really interesting. I'm sure many teachers would say like, that's what I'm going to do in my Monday class.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'm going to, okay, good. Thanks for sharing that. Now, tell us about your everyday experience teaching. Like, what's in a normal day for Rubén as a teacher?
Okay.
What time do you start?
It starts at 7 in the morning.
Is that the time for your first class?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. We are supposed to be here 10 minutes before 7. Then classes start at 7. We receive the students in the classroom. Then we tell them what we're going to do, and we start the class. After that class, well, as you could listen to, we have the bell ringing.
Okay.
Every time we're supposed to go to a different class. And then we have the recess, and then in the recess, we are with students, we have lunch or something. And then I sometimes have meetings with parents, like it is difficult to be with teenagers. And sometimes you have to talk to parents so that they can help you.
Okay.
Because, I really believe that this is talking about teaching, learning processes.
Okay.
It is not just the teacher and the student.
Of
It has to do with parents too. So we have to talk to them and we explain them how they can help us so that we can help the students. And then in the afternoon, we chat with my colleagues, and we do these different activities that teachers do.
Okay. And do you not only because teaching is a lot, right? But do you have other tasks here at school?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah. I started helping in other areas, preparing teachers, for instance.
Okay.
When we receive new teachers here,
Okay.
I sometimes talk to them and explain them what we're supposed to do, how the activities are, the
Okay.
dynamics and everything. Yeah.
So you sort of mentor some teachers
Yeah.
and help them become better teachers. And
Exactly.
everything else.
This is what I do.
Well, so by the end of the day, your working day, you must be exhausted.
Yeah, well, it is tiring. It is
Okay.
not that easy to be with the students, but it is good. I feel happy. I go home. I talk to my wife, with my children, and we talk about school. Everything is related to school.
So it's all 24 hours, 7 days about school.
Exactly.
What keeps you motivated as a teacher?
The fact that they can use the language
Okay.
effectively for their purposes. When I see them, I sometimes feel very happy. And, sometimes you have problems with parents or even with your colleagues or with the principal, for instance, and I don't feel like really motivated. But when I see my students using the language to express their ideas, I feel like, yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm doing
check, right?
Exactly.
You made it.
And I think this is the way I feel motivated.
Hello, my name's Matt Ellman.
And I'm Cecília Lemos. We are part of the professional learning and development team at Cambridge.
And we have a top tip today on creating tailored follow-up on your lessons.
All right. So what do you do to create tailored follow-up in your lessons, Matt?
So tailored follow-up overlaps with lesson planning because it's about taking all the information that you've gathered from your lessons up to now and your understanding of the learners.
And the success criteria.
Yeah. And then tweaking your lessons to make them fit your learners better. And I would say there are two ways you can do that. You can do it by personalizing the lesson, or you can do it by differentiating the lesson. So personalizing is about making the lesson content more relevant to your learners. If you, maybe you have a coursebook topic which is about TV shows from the 80s and your learners are
14.
They don't care about TV shows from the 80s. So you can make that personalized by bringing in TV shows that they're watching now.
It's not about personalizing for each of my learners, but more of a group personalization.
Yeah, I guess it could be for each learner, but who has time to personalize a lesson for
That's it.
30, 40 students?
And I think there is also an element that it's interesting to talk about, which is the follow-up should follow, pick up on what are the students' strengths and weaknesses. Follow-up should be to address those weaknesses or topics that the students didn't really pick up just yet, or maybe some language that they're having difficulty with.
Yeah, and this is the overlap with actionable feedback, because your tailored follow-up is all about giving the learners opportunities to act on the feedback that they've received. There's no point you giving feedback or the learners giving feedback to each other if they never have a chance to put it into practice.
True. But in the beginning, you talked about personalized follow-up or differentiation.
Yeah, so differentiation is about all of the learners reaching the same learning outcome, but taking different routes to get there. So the analogy is often like a mountain, climbing a mountain. We can all climb the same mountain, but you might go up one side and I might go up the other side, and one of those will be easier and one will be more difficult.
Yeah.
Based on what we're capable of doing.
So in practical terms, it's like it's giving the same reading text to all the students, but giving different tasks or different types of scaffolding for the students who need a little bit more help, and less scaffolding or more complex tasks for those students who don't need that extra support.
Yes. Or if it's a speaking task, maybe for the learners who need more support, I can give them some phrases to use. For the learners who are more confident, they
don't need the prompts. That's true.
So there you go.
Yeah, that's our top tip about tailored follow-up.
Now, let me ask you a question. What do you learn from your students?
Well, I learned a lot of things. This is something really good because whenever I ask them a question and I really don't know what they are going to answer. And then they sometimes come up with very incredible, crazy, or really nice answers. Sometimes they give me answers that I don't expect from them, but they are really like as if they were adults, so they knew a lot of things about life or things like that. So I really like to listen to what they say, what they have to say.
Okay. So it must be, I mean, you describe your workday, it's long. You also describe that in your house setting, you're with your family. You also talk about school and everything else with your children. But how do you keep that balance? What happens with Rubén after workday and when you're not talking about education or teaching? What else?
Well, I think it is important, as you said, to have a balance in your life because you need to have a lot of energy here in the classes with your students. And then when I get home, I need time for me to relax and to spend time with my family. And this is something that I think gives me a lot of energy. So
of course,
I feel happy on at the weekend we go out with my pets, with my two children, with my wife. If it is time in vacation time, we travel. We like to travel a lot, and then this is the way I keep this balance.
So you find your ways to relax, right?
Exactly.
So it's not only about teaching.
No, it is not only about teaching.
Because that energizes you, don't you? I mean, when you do other things, that energizes you.
Exactly. Yeah.
But then energy starts to slow down a little bit.
Exactly.
So what advice would you give teachers when it's like middle of a school year, almost the end of a school year, and then you feel like you need to get energy from somewhere? How would you advise teachers to get that energy?
Well, at the very beginning, you're very excited. You're very excited because you don't know your students and you're going to have the chance to talk to them and everything. And that's why you feel motivated. Then, as you said, like with when time passes by, then you don't feel like that motivation.
Not the same level,
exactly.
Right?
But then you can come up with probably to see how they have improved. The language, and then you can look for different things, and then probably if they have learned something, you can see if they consolidated or something, and then I think that can help you a lot, like to change.
In these 25 years as a teacher, have you seen many changes in this field of education?
Yeah, I have seen a lot of things, different things. For instance, nowadays, when I was taking classes as a student, we didn't even have computers, not even mobile phones, for instance. But nowadays, our students have mobile phones, a lot of technology, artificial intelligence. And now, for instance, I can tell you about the attention span. It has changed. So you need to keep your students, you keep the interest of your students, and you have to be very fast on that matter, because if you start talking about something else and then they pay attention, but then in 5 minutes, if they don't feel interested, that you lose them.
All right.
So I have seen those changes. Now you need to adapt your classes, let's say your lessons, to include those tools.
All right.
Digital tools, for instance, or things like that.
We're going to go back to that in a few minutes. But before we go there, have you ever had that feeling as a teacher in which something happens with your students or with a student coming to you, telling you how they felt about your classes, and then you say like, that feeling in which you know that it's kind of like a mission accomplished, like I did something really, really good. Have you ever had that feeling? And would you like to share a moment? That feeling with.
Well, just let me tell you something. It was 2 weeks ago. I was at the mall, and then someone called me Teacher Rubén, and I was turning around, and who's calling me Teacher
Yeah.
Rubén? And it was a girl, and she told me, Teacher Rubén, don't you remember about me? And I saw her face, and yes, I said like, oh yeah, I remember about you. I gave her classes at high school,
Mhm.
and then she told me, Teacher, and now I am working in a company, and what you taught me helped me a lot because I speak English every day here in my job, and things are very good.
Wow.
And she said, thank you. And I felt like really happy to listen to her. It was really nice.
Oh, that's really
It was really, really
touching
nice.
and
Yeah, it
moving,
was.
right? And I'm
Exactly.
sure that everyone listening would say like, yes, that's the moment when you say it's worth it all the
Exactly.
way, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
It
All
was a
right.
good experience.
And that's something you treasure, don't you?
Yeah.
It's something you keep.
Those
there.
experiences, those times when they say, thank you, teacher.
Wow.
And I feel like this is something like,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
I'm
Like
doing.
I'm not here only for the money.
No.
Of course
It
not.
is-
Of course not. Absolutely. Right. There are many different things that trigger your motivation
Exactly.
and everything else. Okay. Now we're going to move into a different part of the podcast in which I'm going to ask you some like fire questions.
Okay.
So whatever comes to mind, morning classes or afternoon classes?
Morning classes. Because students feel more energetic. They feel okay. In the afternoon, sometimes they are kind of tired. And I
Okay.
think morning classes.
Morning classes.
For me.
What's one thing you couldn't live without in the classroom?
My marker. You know,
Oh, okay.
to write down on the board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. What is your favorite word or phrase in the English language?
It is a phrase, actually, that is, and it is from a song from the Beatles, and it is to make ends meet,
Okay.
you know, to make ends meet.
Okay.
And I didn't know, for me, it was very difficult to know
Mhm.
what the meaning was.
Okay.
But then when someone explained me the meaning of to make ends meet, and then I said like, oh, to make ends, two ends, to make them meet. And then it came to my mind, and I always listen to the song from the Beatles, and then I like this phrase. I don't
So
know.
it's
And
like-
I explain this phrase to my students, and then
All right.
they can use this phrase. And
So that's kind of your trademark,
Exactly.
right? Now, okay. What is your favorite teaching moment?
it is in the consolidation
Okay.
when my students start producing
All right.
what they just learned, and I see if it is okay or I need
Okay.
to adjust my classes and everything.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Okay.
Yes, I love coffee.
Okay. Now, this question is really relevant.
Okay.
Ready for it?
I'm ready.
Digital resources or pen and paper?
Digital resources.
Digital resources.
Yes.
Why?
Because I have found that this can be very helpful, especially with the kids nowadays, with teenagers. They feel more comfortable with that.
Okay. Well, we are approaching to the end of
Okay.
the podcast. Rubén, it's been a great experience. Thanks for everything that you have shared. I'm sure that teachers worldwide found your words inspirational, right? It was a real pleasure to have you here. And any final thoughts that you would like to share with teachers all over the world that are listening to our podcast?
Well, thank you for inviting me here. And I would like to say that teaching is something fantastic, something that can help people in different ways. So for the teachers who started working as teachers, they are in the right track, and they are doing well. I mean, they are gonna do something good for the people, not just
Okay.
for their students, but for many other people.
That's just before we go, and just one last question. If you had a chance to choose the same career, would you do it?
Of course, definitely. This is my life.
All right.
I
Okay.
love giving classes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thanks, everyone.
Thank you.